Alan from both sides of the pond, the old chap. Well, there's no old chap, this is both sides of the pond. But it's nice to ad-lib a little bit. It is October the 30th, Saturday, October the 30th, the eve of All Hallows Eve. Yes, time to get those pumpkins out tomorrow and go trick-or-treating. But not if you're driving a semi. Anybody knocks on my door when I'm driving down probably tomorrow I-15, and they'll get pushed off. Bugger off! Don't stand on my doorstep, freezing cold, piss off. But anyway, so yes, it's a beautiful but windy day here on one of the most boring stretches of road imaginable, and I don't mean that really in a bad way. I mean, the I-80 across Nebraska, it's nice for a break. I came up here from the pickup location in Virginia via I-64, where it's all upsy downsy, twisty turnsy roundsies, and just to go straight is always a pleasure. However, it's quite windy today. It's going to blow me over windy, but it is windy and requires constant correction on the steering wheel. But it's not like Wyoming, I'm going to tip you over, you mother kind of wind. So anyway, a couple of things to tell you. There's just a little thought. It's happened since I started trucking, but I wear, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do, wear smartwatches. And I've noticed, I have a fitness tracker on that tracks if you're exercising, walking. If you're idle for too long, it tells you you're a lazy fat bastard and that you need to move. So I've got one of them fitness trackers on my watch. And some of these roads I've been traveling on are so freaking bumpy, they congratulate you. The watch congratulates me on being active. Even though I'm just sat on my ass turning the steering wheel, you're getting thrown about in your truck. How dare you interrupt me? I don't... Is that I think that's a truck driver complaining. A truck driver complaining. Well, I've never heard that before, but yeah. So, and I drive a Volvo, and the Volvo, I've driven all the popular short-nosed trucks. The Cascadia T680s, the Freightliner, the International. I think the only one I haven't driven is the Mack. But the Volvo is the smoothest ride out the lot. I mean, my Cascadia, I used to like my Freightliner Cascadia, but damn, they don't call them freight shakers for nothing. They used to throw me all over the place. It was violent at times. I felt as though I was being abused by my truck. But yeah, it's quite funny that, DOT are like, you must do this, that, and the other to be safe on our roads, and the roads themselves are very unsafe. So unsafe that my smartwatch congratulates me on exercising. I get bounced about so much. Well, what do you think? But last night, probably the lowest I find a truck driver to have ever gone in a truck stop. And I don't know who it was. I wish I did know who it was. But I parked up last night in the Loves truck stop on I-29 at St. Joseph, Missouri. And there was some, and bad language, block your ears if you don't want to hear the F word, but there was some fucking idiot blaring his air horn for about 5 hours this went on. And he was doing it at random periods and gaps in between, so I just couldn't triangulate where it was coming from. And just hanging on the horn, burp, and then all quiet for another 10 minutes. And this went on for hours and hours and hours. And then I'm lying trying to get some sleep, and some motherfucker knocks on my door, so winds my window down and says, "What the fuck you doing, dude? I'm trying to get some fucking sleep." And I say, "Oh, there's people running about the parking lot, hiding under trailers and trying doors." And there was some young trucker, flip-flop wearer, and I think he was high as a kite, I'll be honest with you, and I kind of suspect he's the air horn dude as well. But that was just terrible. And I mean, every time I fell asleep, it was burp. And because I don't have an APU, and because it gets hot in the truck, I have to have my windows open to get some air circulating. So I had to shut the windows, and then of course the cab gets hot. Fortunately, it wasn't the hottest nights, in Kansas. It was about 45 degrees. Obviously, it gets warmer inside the truck, but really, I mean, come on. I have never in all the time, I mean, sometimes you get the old idiot who's impatient about waiting in line at the fuel line because some asshole is doing his 30. Or occasionally you'll get somebody who wants to pull out of his spot in the truck stop and somebody's in his way, so they sound the horn. Personally, I think the air horn should not be used in a truck stop, regardless of the time of day, because whatever time it is, there's people in those cabs trying to sleep. There could be guys working nights, sleeping during the day. Have a little bit of thought about that. So, might sound that I'm complaining, but as I said earlier, that's what truck drivers do. We are champions of complainers, and I guess I'm no exception. But that was outrageous. That really was. Actually, phone loaves. If you go on the app and press on the little symbol, it'll tell you about the store, and there's a button there you can press to call them. And I says, "Can you do something about this?" And apparently somebody else complained, and they walked about, but they couldn't see anything. So it just went on. Probably till about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was up at 5, so I wasn't in the best of moods. And then I went for my cup of coffee in the shop and paid for it on my Love's Rewards, because I get the unlimited free coffee and showers. And the guy, big fat guy, "Anything else I can do for you?" I says, "Yeah, how about shooting that motherfucker who was sounding his air horn all night? Anything else I can do for you?" Was his response. So I don't know if he's getting lots of complaints, or whether when they ask you, "Is there anything else I can do for you?" the required response is "No, that's fine, thank you very much. Anything else does not compute." That noise is the straps on that trailer there being caught in the wind, because I would say it's about a 20 to 25 mile an hour wind, maybe gusts up to 30. But I'm fully loaded, I can handle 30 miles an hour. But it's a prelude to Wyoming, which is always windy. It's always windy in Wyoming, except the last time I was there. It's always windy in Wyoming, except the last time I was there. Apart from the sanitation and the police and the wine and the civilization, whatever did the Romans do for us? That's all I can say. If you haven't watched Monty Python's Life of Brian, then you should. So yeah, that was definitely the lowest. Somebody needed a smack around the face last night. I've just never, I guess if it was the kid on crack, then he's got an excuse, he was on crack. But it's rather scary that if he's on crack, he's also driving a truck. But if it was just a regular truck driver up to some mischievousness, then really that's just the lowest of low. I can't believe somebody actually did that. But it happened last night. That was the Loves on I-29 by St. Joseph, Missouri. Whoever you were, fuck you. Alright, that's the bad language over until the next bad language. I'll do my best to keep it clean until the next time. I don't keep it clean. People say that swearing shows a lack of vocabulary, and I think I don't agree with that whatsoever. I mean, swearing is a way of expressing your anger and emotion in a very, very violent way, instead of saying, "Oh, I fell on my backside." It hurts rather a lot. It's a lot nicer. Well, it expresses the pain more if you say, "Fucking yeah." Get what I'm saying? So I make no apologies. When I check the boxes to start this video, it says, "Is this made for kids?" And no, it's not made for kids. Most kids swear more than adults anyway. I knew all the words when I was still in the infant school. And if you're from America, the infant school is from the ages of, 5 through 8 or 4 through 8, something like that. And then you got the juniors. Could have changed. This was back when I was a kid, back in the 60s and 70s. Juniors takes you up to 11, and then seniors is 11 through 16, and then you go to I forget what they call it after that. long time ago. There's a nice cab there, big old condo cab. Take up a lot of room when you're parking in a truck stop. You see those guys, they park up and their noses are always stuck right out, which is an open invitation for some flip-flop wearer to take the front end of it off. I've never actually witnessed any severe damage in a truck stop before, but I've seen plenty of videos where it has happened. I've never hit anybody. I just take the time. I mean, the thing about reversing, when you first pass your test, you go to a truck stop, it can be intimidating. I know that. You feel as though everybody's watching you and you're the worst backer in the world. Well, I was really actually lucky in that I'm a natural backer. I've never really found it difficult, but still, you know, the consequences are there. You've just got to, they say get out and look, which, yes, get out and look. That's one way. Or you can, as you're pulling up to the spot you're going to reverse into, look at it. See how far each truck is from the line that, you know, so see how much side you've got on the left-hand side. See how much room you've got on the right-hand side. And then always try and go in, keep away from going in on your blind side. Always go on your sight side, and then keep tight to the truck that you can see on that side, and you should be good. Bear in mind, your back end's going to be different every time depending on where your tandems are. If you've got your tandems all the way back, which I don't think I've ever driven around on the open roads with my tandems all the way back, but if you have, it's a lot easier. You've got no overhang to worry about, but you need a lot more room to reverse in. We're entering mountain time zone. Yeah. However, if you need a lot less room if your tandems are forward, but you've got that overhang to think about as well. So what's your angle when you go in to a reverse spot? If you go in with too shallow an angle, then that overhang, you're probably going to hit the truck. So it's good to try and get yourself more or less parallel to the parking spot as you're going in, so you're backing in straight. If you go in at a severe angle and your tandems are all the way forward, you're on hole one, you've got a massive overhang, and you're probably going to hit the truck on your blind side. So one of these days I'm going to bring my drone, and I think I'll do some samples. There's plenty of samples and examples out there on YouTube. You can look them up. There's one particular, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he does some great educational videos for you guys that are struggling with your reversing. But maybe I'll do something sometime. Get my drone out there, stick it on, follow me, throw it up in the air and forget about it while I do reversing. I guess if you really were a bad reverser, you just can't get the hang of it, you could get one of those drones and, you know, watch yourself from above to judge your turning. How about that? I don't understand actually why all trailers not equipped with a reversing camera, you know, at the top there, just to give you a good view of the back. I'm sure insurance companies would charge a lot less if your trailers were equipped with a reverse camera. And at the end of the day, trucking companies, everything they do, it's to get their insurance premiums down. You know, they put cameras in and so on and so forth. It's not there for your safety or anything like that. It's there because it gets their insurance premiums down. And at the end of the day, everybody's doing everything for a profit. We're out. I drive a truck for money. People run a trucking company for money. Nobody's doing it because they love their fellow man. They're doing it for money. So, anyway, yeah. I went under the archway in Nebraska at, what they call it, at, bollocks. Oh, you know what I mean. CSC or Sealy, the damn name of the place. When you get to my age, you start forgetting things. Enjoy the view for a minute while I try and figure out what that bridge is. remember. To hell with it. So anyway, the big wooden bridge that goes over I-80 in Nebraska, in Sealy or CSC or something like that. It's just not coming to me right now. Anyway, so there is a truck stop in there. It's got about 10 spots, and I've always thought about going in there and spending the night, but the timing's never been right. But I figured out how to go in. But it's also the sandhill crane capital of the world. Apparently millions of migratory sandhill cranes. Now I live in Florida. I live in Apollo Beach in Florida, and we have sandhill cranes all year round, and the sandhill cranes in Florida are non-migratory, but elsewhere they do migrate north. Migrate south every winter, and apparently that's where the bridge is, the river. That's where they all congregate. Millions of flocking migratory birds flock down there. So there's viewing points down by the river. So if ornithology is something that you're interested in, then it might be a nice place to stop for the night. The rest area by the bridge isn't very big. It only looks as though it's got about a dozen spots. So I guess it's one of those where you have to get there early, otherwise you're not going to get a spot. But I've never had the timing to be able to, legitimize stopping. I like today, for instance, if I stopped today, I would have been 250 miles short of where I want to be. And I'm looking at Cheyenne at the moment. It is my resting area, which will leave me about 450 miles left to do to Salt Lake City tomorrow. Get this load off and then head into Phoenix, Arizona. And looks an interesting route, actually. It's on a road I've never been on before. Heading down 50, and then you take so far down, you jump off onto US 58, and it looks from the maps very, very, very scenic. So I want to pull over for this truck and give him the room. The reason I'm not is because Super Trucker here is just wanting me past, so he's fine with me crowding this truck around. What a wanker. I would never mind. I wasn't going to cut that guy up in order to get over and create a potential safety hazard, but if that had been me, I would have hung back, flashed my lights, and let me out to give the driver room. There was nobody there, it wasn't out of the truck. But it's always courteous. You feel very vulnerable. I broke down on the side of the road a couple of times. With this truck, I had a blowout. This was the Springfield, Missouri, and it was a very, very narrow, hard shoulder, and it was really scary. People buzzing you. And if you can't get over, that's fair enough. There's a lot of people just didn't pull over. A lot of truckers just didn't pull over because they couldn't be asked to get over. Couldn't be asked means couldn't be bothered as a translation. If you're in the UK and you can't be bothered, one of the ways of saying that is I couldn't be asked. So anyway, there's somebody racing down the dirt track. But Sunderland. I'm from Sunderland, the northeast of England, and my team were playing today. Well, Sunderland AFC have won the league more times than nearly all clubs in the league, other than I think there's about 6 or 7. Man United, Liverpool, Man City. I think Man City and Chelsea we've won the league as many times as, actually. Arsenal's won it more. But anyway, club with a lot of history, and it is history. We're in the 3rd tier, and we get beat 5-1. I mean, we've got the biggest fan base in the league. We've got the biggest fan base if you compare us to all of the teams in the league above us. And we've got a bigger fan base than at least 50% of the teams in the English Premier League. Yet here we are again, languishing in the 3rd tier, and getting beat by the mighty Rotherham 5-1. I mean, granted, we had a man sent off, but we were 3-1 down when we had the man sent off. It's, again, going to be another one of those seasons where we are just looking up with games in hand, saying, yeah, we're behind the leaders, but we'll catch them with the games in hand, and we'll not. And we'll end up in the playoffs, and we'll get beat in the playoffs, and another year season in League One. Absolutely shocking that a club of our size spent so long in that division. We've got no rights to be in the Championship or the Premiership, by all means. But, you know, if, let's say, the Boston Red Sox fell in the minor leagues and that, you know, if there was relegation in the baseball leagues, they wouldn't stay there very long. They just throw loads of money and get back and blah, blah, blah. Well, we had this great American owner, Ellis Short, who injected a lot of money into the club but had no idea how to run a football club and kind of run it in the ground. But when he left, he cleared all of the debts. I mean, he lost a lot of money owning our football club, and you know, the worst thing to say about him is he did try, he was clueless. So he went, and we got this muppet who come in, who you could see he had no money, and a bit like a Bob Murray type or a Tom Cowie who was just going to run the club on a meagre budget and just languishing in the third division. And now we've got this apparently billionaire French owner, and he's not spending anything anyway. So, like, being a Sunderland supporter, if you're American, it's like supporting the Cincinnati Bengals or the Houston Oilers, as they used to be known, or the Cleveland Browns. You know, it's a team that just loves to disappoint you. 50 years I've been supporting Sunderland. And in that time, we've won one trophy, the FA Cup, back in 1973. In 1973, we hadn't won a cup for like, it was 36 years, I believe it was. And at the time, I remember, 36 years since we've won a cup. That is just unbelievable. 36 years without a trophy. Well, it's now, you know, getting on to 50 years. 45 years, is it? I'm doing the math in my head. 45 years and we haven't won anything. Oh, we won this Mickey Mouse thing the other year. So anyway, I'm blabbering on. That's what I do. Talk shite for 20 or 30 minutes. Hopefully you enjoy the view. You probably don't enjoy the crack. But I try and stick a little bit of something that might make you laugh in now and then. I do my American accent one day, that'll make you laugh. Or even my Clint Eastwood. I won a competition in Paphos, Cyprus, doing my Clint Eastwood, the Dirty Harry scene where he's, did I fire 5 shots or did I fire 6? 3 for the, you know. I won a competition for that, or a standing ovation. I was that good. Or, which is more the fact was, the audience were all British, so they probably couldn't tell I was that bad. To them it sounded good. Often when I speak to friends back home, they say I've got an American accent, and I always tell them, if you can find one American to agree with you, then I'll give you a month's wages, because I don't. I have a modified English accent, and I had to modify it so people could understand me. Because if I talk like that, like when it come over, when the boat comes in, you know, and we dance doing the tune as a bottle of brew, and I got to walks the dog, like, you know, you probably wouldn't understand what I'm saying. And people didn't. When I first hit these shores and lived in Little Rock, Arkansas is where we started. So, anyway, wind's getting up a little bit again. It died down. It was a lot worse earlier, and it died down. And it's getting a little bit windy again. But, yeah, that's about it for now. I might come back when we go into Wyoming, but looking at the forecast, I don't think we've got any interesting weather to watch. It looks as though the temperatures are going to be reasonable. The winds are going to be reasonable. We may have a little bit of rain, but as anybody can tell you, and if you look at some of my previous videos, that's very, very good for Wyoming. So, wow! My biggest ever audience of 4 people. Wow, 4 people. Hello! That is my record. I must be doing something right. Or maybe you've just got nothing else to do, so you thought you'd have a look at the roads and fields of Nebraska as we head along westbound on I-80. Now I feel as though I've got to perform like a performing monkey. Shit, now the pressure's on. What can I talk about that I haven't already done? I don't know. So anyway, yeah, I was talking about this route going down I-15 for this pickup I've got. I'm going from Salt Lake City, Utah to Phoenix, Arizona, and go down 15 and then pick up, I believe it's US 58. Could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm sure it's 58. Looks a really interesting road. Looks a lot of undulations, a lot of hills, a lot of hill climbs, and it looks to be in the middle of nowhere. So I'm kind of looking for. I always love doing a new road. Oh, I lost a viewer. Yeah, well, I did hit 4 folks, and now it's down to 3. Somebody pissed off. They says, no, he's boring. He said he was going to be funny, but he's still boring. But anyway, this US 58 looks a real interesting route. I'm kind of excited. I always love doing a new road, especially when it's a 2-lane highway in very, very remote areas. Those always make the juices flow, you know. It's always interesting. I-80 in Nebraska, not so much. It's as you can see, it's flat and it's boring. Although actually we're rising all the time. You don't realize it because it's gradual, but we're rising all the time. When you first hit here, you're at about 500 feet, and currently I'm at 3,200 feet. 50 miles down the road, I was about 2,000 feet. So we're rising and rising, and then obviously when we hit Cheyenne and we hit the mountains, then we go up to about 7,500, 8,000 feet. And I'm just interested to see if there's any snow on the mountains. I was here about 3 weeks ago and there was snow. Well, that's the wife calling, so I'll cut you loose. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Both sides of the pond. Don't forget to subscribe.